Hey y'all, this is Chris with the Rotex Rednecks. This is a long awaited video, I'm sure, for a lot of people. I didn't want to rush it. I had bought this machine about back in mid-December or so, and I wanted to give it a full review, a full go through. I wanted to ride it, I wanted to beat on it, I wanted to work on it, I wanted to do everything I could do so I could give you guys a really good understanding of what this machine is and what I think about it. Now, a little bit about me before I get into the machine, just so you know what context I'm coming from. I've had Can-Ams pretty much my life. I started off on a 650 Gen 1, then I went to a 850 Gen 2, then to a 1K XMR 23. I just sold that and I picked this up. And I know some of you guys are thinking, why would you ever do that, right? Well, I like to try new stuff. I wanted to see what was out there. I wanted to see what the new market had to offer. This Gen 3 was completely, the first of its kind. We do a lot of mud riding. We got a lot of machines. We like to really test the products. We like to put out everything we can for Can-Am. So I went out on a limb and I picked up this 2024 Can-Am Outlander XMR 700 right before New Year's. We went down to Big Rock Power Sports in Elizabeth City. We went hooked up with Jamie Williams, and he's like, yeah, I can get you one of those. So they pulled a lot of strings and was able to get one shipped to Elizabeth City for us to have for New Year's. So we picked it up, and since then I've been extensively testing it, going through it, looking the whole thing over, and now I'm about to give you my full thoughts on it. We're going to go right from the front to the back, just like we did on our previous Outlander video. And I'm going to tell you everything I know and have come to learn about this Outlander and what my exact thoughts are on it. So when Can-Am revealed this machine back last year, it caught a lot of flack, right? People didn't seem to be very happy with it. It's just the way that it looked. They wanted a big new V-twin. They wanted something exciting, something off the line. Now, I think the first thing in this video to remember when we're talking about this machine is that this was designed to compete with the lower horsepower market. This was designed to have the average income be able to go out, buy it, still have fun, and still have it perform. It was designed to keep up with the Yamaha Grizzly, all the Honda machines, the brute forces. That was the market that was intended. They were not trying to compete with themselves. They knew they had an untouched market, and anybody knows anything about Can-Am is that Can-Ams are very expensive. Can-Ams have a lot of horsepower, but you're going to pay for it. Can-Am was going after something new, and they wanted to decimate the market when they came out with this machine. And I will tell you that's exactly what they did. This machine at the price point it's at, which I believe is about $10,500 before all the extra dealership fees, is less than, Honda's Premier, less than the Yamaha, but it packs more torque, more power, more speed, more horsepower, and a lot more features than anything else you can get on the market. It's important to remember what this machine is and what it was designed to do. That being said, let's go ahead and walk through the whole thing. First things first, when you're looking at the front of this, I will tell you that this is not the bumper that comes on this machine. If you go and you look at the machines on, online, they have a different front bumper. And I really like this bumper because it comes with this heavy-duty toe ring, right? This is really, really nice to be able to pull out. I don't know if you can install that on the XMR bumper, but I didn't want to mess with it, and I like the way that this bumper covered the whole fascia, so I bought that bumper. But you will notice right off the bat that this is the XMR version, so they've come out with a brand new way, new design, I guess you'd say, not a new way, to relocate the radiator. If you remember back in the past, they had the fascia wide open right here, and it had like the triangle design on it. On all the Outlander 850s, it's still that way today. This allows for airflow to come in from the top, but it's protected. One thing I like about this one that is not like the other ones is that this is very accessible to be able to clean. You can slide this open and you can clean this entire thing really nice. Now this is where you keep your toolkit. This is basically, this whole thing comes out. Keep your toolkit here. It's even got this little XMR rider dude up here, but it's a little dirtier than I want it to be, but bear with me here. So this makes it much easier to clean and access everything. And this actually comes off super, super easy if you need to, with just 2 bolts here and here. And this whole thing will pop up and slide out of place. So access to your radiator, if you remember before, you had to go through a screen to clean it. This is kind of nice that you can come in here and clean debris off if you want to and wash it all out. So this radiator is really up high, keeps the machine nice and cool, and is accessible. Also, you know, you've got your drip bottles here, your overflow. You've got your, you know, your fill spots and all that stuff all up in this one little area. And then when you close it and you lock it down, all this is protected from the elements, which I really, really like. So that's the radiator. Now, I did put this on myself. That's the X from the Defenders and the X3s. I ordered it because I liked it, and I thought this machine, it looked good on there. So if you guys want to do that too, I'll leave the part number on the description, but I just like the way it looks. Also new for this year, right? You got LED headlights. Now these lights are really, really bright. Almost completely alleviates the purpose for a light bar, right? Where some of the older models, this is the 450 and the 570, have the old halogen bulb style. Now, that in itself is a big upgrade because these lights literally work flawlessly and they're super, super bright, less power, right? I'll show you what it looks like when you turn them on. You come over here and you've got nice, bright LED headlights. So these are really, really good headlights. Super happy with them. Haven't had any water entry on them. Some forums say they've had some issues with some water entry. Sometimes you get some condensation, but I haven't actually seen any water in them myself. So big fan of the headlight. Cool thing about that, right, is you have this all integrated on a whole new handlebar switch, and you can go high beam, low beam, or you hold it down to turn it completely off. And that's that. We'll get more to the controls when we get up a little bit further. Now, one thing I will say about the XMR, right, and this is something that I don't really agree with, but I understand why they did it, is that this machine does not come with a winch. There is no winch on this machine when you buy it. Obviously, I do believe that Can-Am was trying to achieve a price point. It's important to remember that because you can't have all these extra accessories and still have an obtainable price point where you can get into the game. Now, for this machine, and I'm making a bold statement, but I know I'm making a bold statement, is hands down the best machine you can buy to get into this sport right now on the market. Is it a Renegade 1K? No. Is it a 850 XMR? That's debatable. I've had them all. I actually personally think that this will walk the dog on an 850, and there's a lot of arguing about it, but every single one that I've ever met on the trail, I have outperformed. So there's a lot of proof then to put in there. I have a lot of friends that are great with it too. Anyway, back to the video, back to the review. We'll be talking a lot more about all this as we go along. Anyway, so for that price point, they couldn't put a winch on it. For the 10.5 price point, for what you're getting a lot of the things, because a lot of people just change the winch out anyway. And for my winch, what I ended up doing was I ordered a KFI 5,000 pound AS50 winch. So there's that. That's the AS50 winch. It's a 5,000 pound capacity winch. It bolts right up. This is a short drum style, but it gives you a 5,000 pound pulling capacity, which if you were to get a Can-Am winch, which you know they're junk anyways because they come with the cables and you got to replace them, and usually the winches go bad. So this allows you to put a much better winch, stronger winch in here from the beginning. Now, it was a really easy install. Obviously, I ran my wires up. I put my solenoid right up in here so that everything stays nice and clean and dry, and I ran all the wires back there to the battery compartment, which I'll show you in a minute. But for all in all, that winch went in there seamlessly, and I also added a nice rocker switch up in the top, which also looks really good up there. So yes, I had to buy a winch for it. Was it the end of the world? No. So back to it, I installed that winch, so it doesn't come with one. However, I haven't used it yet. Actually, that's not true. I used it one time to get out of a hole. But besides that, I haven't really needed it. It does very, very well off-road, right? So jumping back into this, these are the new, let's see, I think it's called the Swamp King tires, right? This is XPS. This is a Can-Am branded tire. No more cryptids on these machines. Again, that's probably another cost-saving things that Can-Am did to save the consumer some money. What's the first thing every consumer does usually is change their tires out. Now, I will tell you that these tires are actually very, very capable for what they are. A lot of guys have just been leaving them on, and they've been doing really, really well. So, are they a little heavy? Yes, they are a 228, which is also what the cryptids are. So, that being said, you're still getting about the same tires. Now, with that, I will say, even with these 28-inch tires, you're gaining 1 inch of ground clearance on the 850 and the 1K models. This comes with around, I think, 13 inches of ground clearance. We'll have to verify here in a second with a tape measure, but I do believe that that's about what it is. Moving forward, another new change is that back in the day, the airbox used to have 2 of these hoses right here. This one only gets 1, and I'll show you why in a minute. There is no clean side and dirty side. The airbox is actually located right here, and it's a totally different style and design, but I like it because the airbox starts all the way up here, so you don't have to worry about this part of the seat being underwater. We're kind of jumping around. I know that. I'm sorry. We're going to go little by little, but when I see things, I like to talk about them. I know that you guys are watching the video to get educated, so I'm trying to tell you what I know as I'm going along. Under here, you will also see, right, there is no Fox shock in here, like you will see on the other models. So this is probably to save you some money. But I will also tell you, suspension-wise, this is the smoothest, most comfortable machine I've ever been on, bar none. Even the $20,000 Renegade, the 850, this is the most comfortable and most maneuverable machine I've ever been on as an ATV. It rides phenomenal. I mean phenomenal. Super comfortable. They changed a lot of things. The whole frame's different. The A-arm design in the back is different. We'll get to that. The power steering is different. These Gen 3s have changed a lot. So that being said, as a whole, the machine is the most comfortable, smoothest. I feel like you could literally just ride on this machine all day long. I'm a huge fanboy with the comfort level and the way it rides. That's something I can really get behind on this machine. All right, moving on. Another thing you will notice under here is the size of this front diff. This is a massive front diff, and a lot of these parts actually came from the HD7 Defender. I'm not exactly sure because I haven't verified part numbers, but I do know that this diff is massive. This is a full locking front differential that comes with the 4-lock front diff. So right off of the price point, you get a full locking front differential in your XMR 700. No Visco lock, right? Now you're fully locked and all 4 wheels turn at the same time. So you get a fully locked differential. With that is insane to think about for the price point, right? And I will also show you guys how to operate that and stuff when we get into the controls and we get up to the display. There's a way to override your speed limiters and all that kind of stuff for that, so wait till we get there to talk about that. Anyway, getting back into it, yes, this diff is a Visco 4-lock front differential, fully locking. It does have a double hinged connecting rod. I forget what the heck you call it. U-joint, I guess is what you would call it. Anyway, there's 2 different, the angles. Some people like to try and complain about the angles. I really don't think that they are that bad. I haven't had any issues with it, any noise with it. So I can't really speak on anything bad about that yet at all. I've had no problems with it. Obviously, it's still a newer machine, so time will tell on that. I'm not too worried about it. Other people seem to be. I don't think it's going to be a problem. People a lot smarter than us made it. Another thing to check and look in here, right here, this is the power steering unit, all new for 2024 and 2023, this model specifically. smooth as butter, extra strong, extra reliable. Noticeable difference between all four or three power modes. And when you are locking the front diff, it feels like it's got way more power to be able to turn the wheels left and right when it's in a full locked position. So the power steering upgrade was a huge game changer and improvement in the Gen 3 Can-Am. Moving on outside of the wheel well, let's go ahead into the rest of the body. This is something really cool that Can-Am changed that I think is huge. I mean huge, especially for a at-home do-it-yourselfer. The ease of access they made on this machine is absolutely phenomenal. So this whole unit right here is what houses all of your intakes for your CVT and your engine. If you remember back in the day in the old ones, they used to be kind of under here and used to have a thing that came out right here. And your CVT was on this side and your engine intake was on the other side, and they used to come in and point down, which left your intake to be about yay high, probably kind of like right around this area. If you come over here, obviously if you draw a line straight across, that's right about here on this machine. So they have upped in the XMR game, actually it's probably right about here. So they've probably increased the height of the intake, I would say at least a foot, which is really nice. I do have a video on YouTube parked right next to a 1K Renegade to show you how it's it's within an inch or two of the Renegade snorkel. So they've definitely done a really good job redesigning the cowl hood for this for the Outlander. Now getting into this is something I really love about this machine is you turn a quick snap here, you got a push button, and that's it. Now this whole thing comes up and slides to the front. This is how you gain access to the intake, right? This is your CVT intake. This is your engine intake right here. And they all fit up inside here to keep them protected. Now, something you will notice about this is that these all point in the down direction. The intake for these creates like a like a downward slope, so that the intake is all the way up at the very, very top right here. It's the same with this right here. If you were to look inside here, and we'll pull this off in a second, this whole thing slides in a downward angle. So if you were to get into water, it literally has to get to the very, very top circle of this up here in order to ingest water. And everything else sends water in a downward direction, which is really cool, because the old Outlander, especially the XMRs or whatever, they just had like a thing just sitting like way down in here, kind of in this area, and you would ingest water if you ever got too low. You can even afford to dip this machine a few times before it turned into any sort of real serious problem. Now here's another cool thing. I do have dielectric grease on this gasket, but I put a short video on YouTube talking about, or actually it was TikTok, talking about how good this thing did after a weekend of riding. So if I just pull this cover off and set it to the side, this is how the new airbox looks. This is how high it is. It's almost handlebar high. If you were to look at it, it's right here, so which is really cool. So the whole lid on top of this is really high, and then if you were to take this air filter off, or out I would say, that box is super deep. I mean, that box is over a foot deep, so you can ingest a ton of water before it ever becomes an issue, where before you had about this far until it got to your filter in the old air boxes. So this box is way better designed. You can ingest a ton of water multiple times before you end up sinking this machine, which is a huge peace of mind when you're out there riding. And then obviously the reason that there is no two clean side, dirty side, because the clean side goes straight into the throttle body, which is kind of nice, because if you guys remember the old machine, there was really no way to clean that airbox, because the airbox came around and made a U. If you're looking at that one over there, there's no way to clean the opposite side of the airbox, where if this one gets mud in it, you just pull the filter out and you clean the whole thing, and it's much easier to take care of. Let me slide this in here. Let me put this back together and we'll keep going. All right, and we're back. So I just put the cover back on. I always put a little thing of dielectric grease around that gasket just in case, if it doesn't seat right or whatever. Cool little tip. Anyway, there's tons of videos on YouTube of guys just like myself taken this entire box underwater. This seals very, very well. You don't have to worry about it. And in the event you do dip it for a second, it goes underwater, you'll be able to ingest a large amount of water. I would say you ever even touch the air filter, and you can just come up here, and that's that one tube we were showing you earlier. You just pop that off and you drain it, and you just keep going. Super cool feature. I'm very happy with the air box on these things. I think it outperforms what we're used to. Another cool thing when we're talking about taking it deep, another cool thing that we haven't really seen a lot on YouTube is that new for 2023, all these vent lines here come, and they come inside, and all your vent lines have a very distinct spot. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me roll this forward just a little bit, giving some better light. Yeah. So as you can see, all these vent lines come into a very distinct spot up in here, and they are all protected and covered from dirt and debris. So this is a two-piece cap. The ends of these go in here, and then this cap goes and snaps over the top to keep all these vent lines clean and out of dirt and mud so they don't get clogged. Because if you remember back in the day, sometimes you could have problems with these lines getting clogged, sucking your gas tank in, things like that. So this is a much better design for your vent lines. All of these stay capped and stay able to breathe real nice. A lot of thought and time went into all of this, to be completely honest with you. If you're looking right here, every one of your plugs has a designated spot, so you don't just have wires floating all over the place like in the past. Everything has a very distinct spot. Your fuses are up here. Everything's up as high as physically possible. So all this is a huge game changer for me. You know, in the right move, in the right direction for Can-Am, thinking about the customers, thinking about what the product's actually used for, knowing it's going to go deep, and doing everything they can do to try and, you know, keep you riding. You know what I mean? So super cool. This is the bottom of the snorkel. I just flipped it up just so you guys could see. This is where the intake goes for your motor, and then this is where you house the intake for your belt box. So both are up relatively high, and these suction cup gaskets form right on those bevel holes. So this thing will sit and fit directly on there, so that like we said with that you know, slope of the intakes will keep the water out as much as possible. And this will also pop up inside. This is used to guide this all the way up in here, so that it stays up in there right where it's supposed to. So we'll get this back on here, and I'm going to show you exactly how to reattach this section. All right, once you get this hood sat down on place and you're close, you have a snap pin over here, so you're just going to push this hard. Then you're going to find these keys are going to find their homes, right? You'll turn one, make sure the other one's kind of where it's supposed to be, and then you're going to see this pin right here. This is also going to snap back in until it goes, and that's in there. And then you just turn the final key, and now your snorkel tube's back on, or at least your hood's back on. It's that simple. You just set it on, snap the other side, put the two keys in, and push the button. Now another final step I like to do, come over here with your finger, you're gonna pop this off, right? And that pops off, and now this reveals, remember the slope we were talking about? It's really hard for water to get all the way up in here. You have this entire circle in its top before you sink this machine. So now you can come in here, and you can take your fingers in here, and you can just make sure that that snorkel tube is set up inside here like it's supposed to. So another really cool feature about this. Then once it's all good, you just take and you set the bottom two pins, and that's it. Now all of that thing's back in there, and you're all ready to go, and you're ready to go ride again. So that's the intake box, your CVT snorkel system. Everything is up this high. You aren't in any trouble with this machine until you're about this high. Pretty cool. Literally your handlebars could just about go underwater. Not the same for the old style Outlanders, and even honestly on par with the Renegades. Stock to stock, stock wheels to stock wheels, it's damn near identical. So that's really cool. Way to go, Can-Am, on that. Moving on. All right, let's take and sit and hop up on here real quick. So ergonomics are absolutely amazing on this machine. These footwells come to a little curve on both sides. Kind of reminds you like stirrups on a horse. You're able to really move this machine because of the way the floorboards are. And the floorboards also are integrated with metal tubing into the frame, so when you actually like really push them, it does really well about moving the entire machine. Right off the bat when I'm sitting here, something you will instantly notice about this machine is the gear shift lever. All the old Outlanders, this is a whole new transmission and design. So look, literally no issues ever. Literally, you can go into any gear, anytime, no rocking required. Everything has been completely rethought out and designed for this machine. It doesn't get any easier, any smoother than that. Obviously, you still have your park, reverse, neutral, high, low. One thing I will tell you, the clutch on this machine is absolutely out of this world good. It's got a new P-drive clutch, completely different than the clutch that comes on all the other machines. You know, you used to have to get QSCs or STMs. That P-drive clutch is the most smoothest engaging clutch on the market. It is so close to being gear-to-gear driven, sometimes you can't even tell. It reminds me of driving a gear-to-gear Honda, which I have owned many of those in the past. Just to give you guys an idea how good those are, I ran these 32-inch cut and grooved Naders at Busco the first time I ever rode the machine, and I rode them in high the entire time. Never once smelt a belt, never had any issues with it, period. The P-drive clutch on this is literally phenomenal, out of this world. Can't brag about it enough. You got to drive one to understand what I'm talking about. Throttle response is on point. It's completely predictable. It's dependable. It's smooth. The engagement is instant. I cannot talk enough good things about the clutch on this machine. Good job, Can-Am, again. All right, hopping back up because I had to hop back off to talk about the clutch. All right, as we're sitting in here, you got your key fob, right? We're used to seeing this on all the other machines. You didn't get that on the lower unit, so you do get it on the newer machine. Pretty cool. They come with an actual lanyard this time. When you kick off, you ain't got to worry about losing your key. Snaps right back on place. Does not come with a mud strap. I did add that. So a new handlebar accessory mount here and here. This is the same from the Renegades, anything. I think it's like 2021 and newer. This is all new here. And another cool thing is that it has integrated hand warmers if you buy them, where you just take these off, and instead of having to rewire it, you just plug it in under the seat and you push the button and you have full integrated hand warmers, and all of your, no need for the fancy box that comes up here. Everything shows up on your screen. Your hand warmers show up there. Everything is completely cyclable through the hand grips, which looks super cool. I'll input a picture of what those look like now. Pretty sweet stuff. I have those on order. The cluster is really cool. We talked about it, right? Your no more yellow button. Everyone was used to the yellow button. They got rid of that. Everything is now, once this machine starts, the green button will actually control all of your over revs. So the over revs that your speed limiters that happen when you're in four-wheel lock or when you're backing up, everything is overrode by the green button, which is kind of nice because it's much easier to get to, in my opinion. Less buttons, less problem, less wear. So I'm all on board with that. Your on and off switch doesn't have 3 position anymore. It's either just on or off. Your lights, pretty cool, right? You got your low beam. The low beams stay on all the time unless you choose to turn them off. High beams, you just push it forward and you get your high beams. Then you got your low beams, and if you want to turn them off, all you do is hold it down, and then the lights turn off, and then you ride around with no lights. So that's pretty cool. Now, one thing Can-Am did do, which is really super cool, and I'm a little bit jealous, and I wish they would have came out with this on this machine, is that the winch has integrated button technology. So this little blank off panel that sits right here is actually used to house a winch switch, just like this one, but it's literally OEM and comes that way stock. You can buy that and you can install that through Can-Am. I just didn't have time, and I wanted a winch before I went to Busco for my first ride. That being said, it is super cool. You guys got to check that out online. If you look back, you'll see another picture I just posted with the integrated hand warmers. So that's really, really cool. Hop over to the other side. You've got your intelligent throttle control. Just like all the other machines, anything 21 and newer, you got your work mode. You got your work mode off, which is like your normal mode, and then you press it to the right, again, and boom, you're in sport mode. What's cool about this machine, and I think they even did away with it in 23, is that it doesn't reset itself every time you turn the machine off. It stays in the last position it was in, which is a great feature. So if you're riding in sport mode, it'll start up and it'll be right back in sport mode again, which is kind of neat. And it'll also beep to tell you, hey, we're still in sport mode. It does the same thing with the locker. So it'll beep for the locker, and it'll also beep for the ITC. Another reason it will beep that most people don't know about is if you're riding and your foot's stuck on the brake and you're trying to give it gas at the same time, it'll beep telling you, hey, your foot's on the brake. So that's kind of cool too. To take it out of four-lock, you just push the button, and now you're in just regular Visco four-wheel drive, and then to undo all that, you just push down again. So cycling through your modes one more time, you've got sport mode off, which is normal, and then you got your work mode, which makes a lot less aggressive throttle, really nice for unloading in trucks and whatnot, things like that. Gives you a really good throttle response to where you're not bop, 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 and you're bouncing all over the place. So I like that too. This is your normal gauge that you see on everything else. Gives you your temperature. As you can see, we got 14.8 hours, still fairly new machine, but enough to know what it's capable of and what it does. So that's your controls in a nutshell. Obviously you can change everything. You've got your trip mode, your trip, and your settings. Here you can do your time, your mileage, all that stuff, and then you can cycle through to give you can set your DPS through here, which is kind of cool. You can show your battery voltage, all kinds of your normal, everything you can do right through this button right here, so that's kind of nice. Let's go ahead and move on to another super cool feature about this machine. So if you back up, something the Can-Am's never had right here, boom, accessible storage box, right? That's super neat. You have a magnetic phone holder that comes with the machine, and your phone sits on there, which is super, super cool. Sorry, light makes it kind of hard to see, but you can set it right in there. Hang on, I'll grab my phone and show you. So you get this cool Can-Am magnet, and your phone will literally go in there and it'll just stay and it won't move. No matter how hard you're riding, it will never come off of there. And it comes with the charging accessible port, and then when you turn it on, this lights up as well. See, you can see it's kind of blue, it's kind of hard to see, but this whole thing lights up as well. Pretty watertight. It does leak if you're under there, but splashing, none of that stuff will get in here. It's only if you completely submerge it. There's a tiny little hole in the gasket right there from where they put it on. I'm sure people will be making gaskets to make this completely watertight. Super cool, innovative product. I keep my GoPros in here, I keep my phone in here. Everything's readily available, locks down, and I've never had any issues with it. That's a super cool feature on this machine. I love that. Let's move on to under the seat. All right, probably single-handedly my favorite feature about this entire machine, and we still got a ways to go here, but is the accessibility to change the parts on this machine and work on it. It is hands down the easiest machine on the planet to work on. To open the seat, you've got your standard lever in the back, and you come back here. Now this is under the seat. Now you'll notice from the old ones that there is no battery here. The battery has now been moved to right here. There's two little push pin rivets that sit right here, and this whole battery is easily accessible. I really like the way they moved that, because let me show you something real quick. With just two screws removed, right? So now you just have these two screws removed. This entire, sorry, give me a second, guys. This entire box comes open. Now, if any of you guys have been riding Can-Ams for a while now, you know, especially mud riding and things like that, either the sock gets clogged or the fuel pump fails. This has never been easier in the history of Can-Ams to change the fuel pump on this. These plastics never have to be removed to do any maintenance unless you're completely removing the gas tank. And even then, I think you could get away with taking it out the rear. So that being said, you remove two screws and you have access to everything you need to. Another cool thing Can-Am did here is that even though the battery's there, this wiring has been neatly ran, and you now have a negative terminal here and a positive terminal here for any accessories you want to add. Everything is sitting right here waiting for you. 2 pops right here, and boom, there's your starter solenoid under there. And then also with all your switches and your diagnostic wiring, everything has been thought out in this machine to make our life as mechanics 1,000 times easier. I think it's absolutely amazing how they decided to run all these wires and grooved in channel, because if you remember the old machines, you take off a side panel and it is literally just a cluster of wires going everywhere. Everything has a spot. Everything is well designed, well thought out, and it's going to stop it from chafing, having wire problems, anything like that. So I really dig the top of this machine and how it all comes together. But don't worry, it gets a whole lot better. So now, without any tools required, you just flip this lever up, you grab from right here, and now you have access to the entire belt compartment, right? Changing a belt or removing or looking at your machine has never been easier. Even for cleaning, it has never been easier. The other side works the exact same way. You just have this little lever. You flip the lever up, you pull from here, and you pull it out. Look how easy that is to work on. Now we've revealed our big single cylinder for the 700, right? But even everything's got a nice wire harness. Everything has a zip tie holder. There isn't a single line on this entire thing that can move to chafe or get damaged in any way. You can see everything is super easy to access. Only thing on here, you got 2 push pins, and then you can get to your oil filter that sits right here. You can get access to your oil here to check it. You can do everything in a blink of an eye. Everything is so fast and so easy to gain access to. It's never been easier to work on your machine. I just love that. I think that is an amazing integrated feature that they came out with. If you water right enough, you know what's going to happen. You're eventually going to sink your machine, right? It just happens. It's just part of the game. Sometimes you hit a rut weird and things just go haywire, and all of a sudden you dip it. Next thing you know, you sink it. Unsinking this machine has never been easier, right? I already showed you the air box and how to drain the air box. Super simple, right? Clean it out, empty the water out of it. But then boom, look at that. Look how easy it is to not only get to your spark plug, but to inspect. Then your coil and everything sit right here on the cylinder head. So that 30 tip pops off, you undo this and the entire assembly comes out. You unsink it, you drain your oil, and you're right back in the game. Very similar to like Honda style. Knocked it out of the park. The maintenance on this machine can't be beaten. It's never been easier to work on your machine. And once you take this piece off that we just showed you, this is only held on by 3 or I think 6 screws, and then this whole cluster comes off, and then these are only held on by 2 more bolts and the one underneath there, and literally you can reveal the entire machine. All the plastics can come off, I believe, in about 10 minutes, maybe 15 max. You can have the entire machine have access to fix and look and go through everything. So huge win. I can't state that enough. That is super cool. If you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a fanboy on this. But I'm going to throw this back together and we're going to keep talking because I'm not done yet. All right, she's all back together. Literally took about 30 seconds. Absolutely insane to think about. So pretty cool basket rack, right? Comes with a lot of accessories. Canon makes a lot of really cool things. I do like the fact that they made a nice little flat spot that kind of can hold stuff for you. Still has some link entry. It's got link connectors right here where you can put like cooler mounts, or you can put gun racks, or you can do any of that kind of stuff. The back feels very accessible and very usable. They got rid of the trunk that used to be in the back here. I'm kind of happy about that because that trunk just filled up with water and mud all the time anyways. It was a complete useless waste of space. I'd much rather have the small compartment in the front, no trunk in the back, and if you want to put like a waterproof box or something here, you've got more than enough room. And they do make some really cool boxes that come straight across and sit down in here, give you a ton of space and a backrest and everything. So if that's kind of your thing, they make a ton of options for it. And if you've ever looked at the regular Outlander, not the XMR edition, they make some really cool stuff that gets rid of the rad and puts it back where it goes, and you can put a chainsaw mount that shoots straight down into the frame. so that you're not carrying that sideways. It comes with a fuel rack, fuel caddy, you name it. Can-Am makes an accessory for it. And I'm really excited to see all the different things that come from Can-Am about this machine because it's still so new. Anyway, moving on to the back. Something that is cool if you're a mud rider and you know all about breaking parts and having spares and things like that. These axles in the back are both the same. So if you were to break a rear axle, you only need one for either side to replace it. That saves guys like me and you money. So that's huge, right? The fronts are different because it uses that front locker on it. So they are different, but the backs are both identically the same. So you technically only need to have 3 spare axles. As you can see, the frame is completely different on this thing. It's all tubular now. It's kind of uses the X3 design style frame, which gets rid of a lot of vibration, makes everything extremely rigid. Like I said, when you ride it, rideability is second to none on anything in the market. I mean that with any ATV on the market, rideability is #1 on this machine right here. It is the most comfortable, easiest driving machine I've ever been on, and I've been on a ton of them. And this thing is easily just the best for rideability. You could ride it all freaking day long and never get uncomfortable, which if you remember these seats, there ain't nothing comfortable about these seats. They're okay. Can-Am's great. Can-Am's will always be my favorite. But this thing, they've just knocked it out of the park with that segment of it for the price and everything. Exhaust is very similar to the old 570 design. However, it's very, very quiet. We will go at the end of this video. I will take you on a short drive down the road because it is freezing cold outside. It won't be very long. In-depth review. We'll do a full trail ride review for you. There is a couple of videos out there already surfacing around, but yeah, another big thing, right? They went to an A-arm style design, which is kind of cool. I like that because that allows you to have a lot more droop down, better angles, and it also controls your ride a little bit better. I do like the torsion trailing arm, but God, what a nightmare when changing axles. If you remember back in the day, you used to have to take the whole big center bolt out. Now you can just boom, quick, put a new one on and not have to worry about it. So I actually really dig the new A-arm style design. And like I said, whatever they did as far as comfort to change it all, they did a huge improvement in rideability. You can see probably not the best side to be on this side, but on this side, if you look in here, the A-arm is the sway bars are extremely beefy. I watched Mud Puppy's video about disconnecting that. He says it still rides really good with disconnected, so that'll allow for even better articulation, especially in the holes when you're trying to get traction. Like I said, not Fox springs, but they do very, very well. Whatever they did it right. I don't see any need for a suspension upgrade. I think you're wasting your money, and you have a hell of a time trying to beat the ride that it already gives you. It comes with a receiver hitch, right? You can see that down there. Good for guys that run tiger tails or anything like that. Not crazy about the rear bumper. Probably going to look into doing, I actually kind of like the XT bumper because it gives you a lot more protection and it gives you something to grab onto. So they make an XT bumper. I might end up getting that. But I'm also getting ready to kind of go on deployment here. So I have a feeling when I get back, there'll be a lot more stuff out there for it. But yeah, that's the rear end of this. These do not light up. They're just magnets. Guys are already starting to make like new headlights and taillights for it. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, what else? Non-bead locks, right? Try to save you money. Tires are wider in the back than they are in the front. Now, I will tell you that with this design the way it is, I'm a mud guy at heart, right? That's what I like to do is what my group does. I can literally bolt those 32 assassinators up to this, stock forward, stock everything. Not only will it turn them like a joke, but only time I rub anything is when I turn a tiny bit. I rub a tiny bit, not even noticeable, when I turn full lock to the left. And that's something else I will tell you guys. Whenever they did design the geometry, this machine will outturn that machine even being bigger. The way they designed the turning radius on this is absolutely phenomenal. It turns amazing. I mean, I bet I could damn near turn almost a whole circle in my garage, which isn't obviously massive, but you'll see. I will take you for a short ride here in just a minute, and we'll take it for a short spin, and I'll kind of talk about that. Super quiet machine. That's all preference, right? But for guys that are looking to, watching this video for the 700 or the 500, it is a insanely quiet machine. If you start both of these up side by side, they're both stock, you won't even hear this one running, and that'll sound obnoxious, which is crazy to think about, because this is a much bigger motor and it's twice as quiet. You can't even hear it running. You walk 15 yards away from this machine, you can't even hear it running. Now I know that that's not everyone's preference, but you can always change that, right? I actually had a buddy of mine, I bought some tires from a while ago. He bought one, and he bought a Empire exhaust for it, and he didn't want it. He thought it was too loud. He liked it being quiet, so he sent it to me. We're just going to put it on, do a review on it, and see if we like it. If we like it, we'll keep it. If we don't, we'll get rid of it. But at least we're going to do a review on it so people can know, how loud it is. I've been rambling on forever now, so if you can't tell, I'm an insane fanboy on this machine. The fact that I can just bolt on 32s and go everywhere. I mean everywhere, guys. Like if we're talking about how does it perform, right? That's a whole nother conversation, because this machine hurts feelings. And there's going to be guys that are about to comment right now and saying, oh, my 1K will walk that, or my 850 will outperform that. And for the price point, it won't. Absolutely not. This machine will keep up with anything with the same tire size and some bigger. I have 15 to 20 guys in our group, and we go hard. We wheel the ever-living crap out of these things. And there wasn't a place anyone could go that I couldn't take this machine with those tires. And there were multiple places where this machine would go places where big 1Ks, 30 grand into them, 34-inch tires, and it would go places that theirs wouldn't. So I'm telling you that for the price point, this machine is unbeatable in any market, anywhere. If you're a young kid and you want to get into the sport and you don't want a fat, huge payment, you can get this machine out the door for less than $200 a month, probably, if you get a good bank and a good interest rate. And you can keep up and go anywhere everybody else goes. You don't need to change the tires. You don't need to do anything. Maybe throw a winch on it and you're good to go. The performance of this thing is absolutely unreal. The clutch is game changing. The way that the ground clearance is better than all the 850s and 1K stock. It's got the full built locker in it right from the factory. I'm telling you, it's got the rad relocate. You just can't beat it. And I bought it for that reason, to see, did Can-Am screw this up? And is everybody right about it? No. It's the most misunderstood machine on the market, and you guys can quote me on that. Once you get on it, you never want to get off it. It is the funnest machine to ride. It's really comfortable. It performs well. It's got an insane amount of torque. And then you can look up the numbers. All you haters out there can look up the numbers. This machine has more torque than an 850. The only thing comparable to it is the XMR 1K, because it's got the transmission lower geared. And this also has a lower geared transmission. It comes with an extra low gear for mud anyways. Not noticeable when you're driving it, but definitely lower gear. And if you guys watch the Mud Puppy video, he talks about how he can swap the Defender HD7 gears onto this machine, and you can actually, I think you raise or lower by 1 tooth, and you get a 4% gear reduction. And that's after the belt. So you're talking after the belt, less wear on parts, bigger tires. You don't have to worry about a thing. You ain't got to re-clutch it. You don't got to do nothing. It's just an amazing machine. You guys have got to try to get on one of these things. I can't talk highly enough about it. I know I'm rambling, but anyway, I've said enough. You guys got to try it. Let's go on a short ride. All right, before we go anywhere, I'll take it outside. Now you're kind of looking at it outside, right? I think it's important to notice how quiet this machine is, right? Just purrs like a kitten. You don't even know that it's on. Super, super quiet. Obviously how easy it started, how much it shifted. It's a really good looking rig, especially if you're looking kind of from a farther away distance. I think it's a lot better looking in person. I really like it. You put some naders on it and it's real mean looking. All right, let's go for a short ride. All right, so here we go. Look, super simple to shift, right? We're in work mode. If we want to change it, we just push our button. If we want to go to sport mode, we just go to sport mode. We don't need diff lock or anything like that. So something that's kind of hard to show you guys is like how easy this thing just moves. Look, it's literally like you'll never do that on a regular Outlander. It's just so smooth. It just does it. It's like literally, it feels like it's gear to gear, but it's not. The power steering's incredibly smooth. Great update as far as that goes. Now something just to show you guys, right? Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Look how quick I can just turn this thing around. I'm not even on a regular street, so if you can see me, like, it's insane. I just did a full circle and I didn't even touch my curb, nothing. I wasn't even close to him. It's nuts. This whole thing's nuts. Wheelie, it'll do all that stuff. We've wheelied it, we've jumped it, we've done everything to it. You really just can't really beat it. Hopefully you guys have really enjoyed this video. We're gonna start doing a lot more of them. I know I talked a lot, but I think it's important to get the information out there, you know? So anyway, it's freezing cold. I'm gonna go put this thing up. We will catch you guys in the next one. Look at that, I just went over that bump, couldn't even feel it. It's just insane. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I hopefully helped to make you make a decision if you want one. We'll talk to you guys later.